So last week, I had the absolute pleasure of being interviewed over on Mindvalleys' Jason Marc Campbell's live show. Now, the big issue that we have on Instagram live shows is that within 24 hours, Instagram removes the videos. We got so many amazing comments and we got so much good feedback in our DMs from the show that we didn't want it to go missing. So we've stripped it and we've placed it on here so it's got a place forever. Now, within this show, we speak about a lot of things from energy management, personal performance, business when business gets tough, and what to do when you know that you've got something that you really want to go and do, where to start, how to go about getting clarity on it, but more to the point, what to do in order before you take the leap and go all in on it. So anyway, here it is. This is my interview over on Mindvalleys' Jason Marc Campbell's live show.
This is Jason Marc Campbell. Welcome back to another one of our live conversations where I'm going to be bringing some interesting people that come here, share their insights, share their ways of life, and look for ways that you can be inspired by following the people that are doing things a little differently and making us aspire to do even more. So the guest that I bring today is an incredible individual, and the story of how I met this person is worth telling even before I bring him on, as he's going to be waiting in line to join. This is actually one of the funniest things that happens, probably only in Bali. So here I am in Bali. And I'm going to this place called the Ammo Spa. And Ammo Spa is a place where you actually go and you can do the ice baths, you can do the saunas, and it's a really good relaxing place you can go after you hit the gym in the morning, right? So here I am sitting next to somebody I don't know in the sauna, and we're just having chit chat. And at some point he asked, where are you from? And then I mentioned I'm from Kuala Lumpur, tell him I work in personal growth. And he just looks intrigued. He says, do you work for Mindvalley? And I'm like, I'm reading a book right now, The Buddha and the Badass by Vishen Lakhiani. I'm like, oh, when you get to chapter 3, you're actually going to hear the story about me. And that was the way that we were introduced. And now he is here with us live. Simon, welcome.
Hello. I was excited to hear the rest of that story. I totally forgot how we met.
Well, it was just random, right? We were just at Ammo. Completely. And isn't that the best way to make good friends?
Yep. Absolutely.
So if anybody's joining, I wrote the title of our live here actually being about what is a Nourish life? And I think that kind of wraps around the lifestyle that you're living, Simon, and kind of where our conversation is going to be going. So with that, where are you right now? Last I remember, you were in Bali, you had to leave us, and you headed out to the UK. And I know you've traveled again. So what's happening?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a fun story, really, hasn't it? So the past month for me this is just, I don't know what you want to call it. So basically, I was in Ammo again, speaking to our mutual friend, Kevin. I was like, do you know what? This past year with travel, everything like that, nothing's really ever happened. And then I was speaking to him, I was like, I've never really had a bad issue when it's come down to travel. Literally within the space of 24 hours, when Bali announced that we were able to extend our visa, I found out I'd become victim to a visa scandal. So someone had been frauding my passport, which completely shook up the entire playing field of obviously like certainty and all that sort of stuff. So effectively, I ended up back home, ended up in the UK for about 2-3 weeks and just had to get out. So right now I'm currently over in Tuscany, Italy. So that's where we're speaking to you today, man.
Okay, that doesn't sound like a bad place to be. How are things there? Because if anybody's watching and thinking, oh my God, Italy, isn't that ground zero that Corona really started making the headlines? What exactly is happening there?
Do you know what? It's not that major, to be honest. There's obviously the precautions and stuff like that have come into play, but there's nothing really with regards to major like lockdowns, the social distancing. I mean, the Italians are just as they are. They're a very cultural bunch in the communities. Everyone's still out drinking wine in the towns and all that sort of stuff. So I've got to be honest, from what I saw in the media in the UK to actually come in here and seeing what it's like, they're not major with regards to what it is. It's just you've got to wear a mask in a shop and that's pretty much it, to be honest.
Fair enough. Well, I just want to give a heads up. We got David watching. We got Shiv's watching. We got Susie from the UK watching. Dominic Mills. We got Luis Asicota, as well as the Social Sharpe, which I don't know what your name is, but let us know where you're watching in from. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you're at, what time it is now, because we usually attract a bit of a worldly audience when we do these lives, which kind of brings us into the topic at hand. Simon, all right, you seem to be doing well if you get the opportunity to live in Bali, go to the UK, you're out in Italy, and you run a podcast called The Nourish Life. So can you let everybody know, what is The Nourish Life? What's this all about?
So the Nourish Live show started. Jason, I came to a period where, for me, I was always chasing something. So for me, as a young entrepreneur, I've been in this very, very early doors. And I came to a position like last year when I was like, do you know what? I'm just not going to create businesses, and I'm just going to take a step back. I'm going to kind of align myself up, and I'm just going to do what do I absolutely love doing? And that was just speaking, sharing a message, and that was pretty much, and interviewing people, hence yourself, having you on the show. So last year, all I did was I just went all in on that. I literally, and this just shows you how you don't need thousands of pounds worth of equipment or anything along the lines of that to actually start up and share a message. I literally just bought a podcast microphone, got my laptop, got my passport, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go travel the world, meet amazing people, and interview people as I go. And what started off as a little venture soon escalated into the show. I think we hit we were in the top 20s last month. So it blew up a lot bigger than what I thought. So the Nourish live show effectively is meeting people who are not just, I feel like a lot of industries highlight and put people on the pedestal who are very one-dimensional, people who are crushing it in business, but don't necessarily have the lives together, like inspiring lives with regards to the relationships, X, Y, Z. So for me, the entire show's purpose is to show people that you can nourish every single area of your life and kind of create that element of balance to move everything forwards as one, such as business, you yourself with your personal growth, your relationships. Because for me, I know from my own experience, when I was one-dimensionally living, it broke me. I was a very unhappy person. I had lots of zeros in the accounts, but I was everything else poor, emotionally poor, relationships poor, X, Y, Z. And again, this kind of falls in line with the podcast, really, is why we interview people like that, just to show really what you can do. You can actually go out there and create the life that you really want to create. It really is that easy these days, especially with the tech.
Well, so, you know, what's fun is last time that we had a conversation in this format, I was the one on the hot seat. So now I get the opportunity to put you on the hot seat, which here's something that I heard once, and it did kind of stuck with me. Like, there's a lot of models to divvy up the categories of life. I know, like at Mindvalley, we talk a lot about Life Book. Tony Robbins has probably his own stuff as well. There's one article I remember reading. It was called the 4-burner theory. Have you heard of that one?
It rings a bell.
So it just gave you 4 big categories. It talks about your health, your career, your relationships, and your family.
Perfect.
Quadrant. Yeah, it was a quadrant. And it basically said that you basically have 4 burners on a stove with limited gas, and wherever you turn up the gas on one, it'll take the flame away from the others. And it's almost like there's times that I'm like, yeah, when I go like all out on health, maybe I compromise on the business. If I go all out on business, I compromise on the health. Is this a reality that we're constricted with? Are you seeing people being able to overcome that? And how do you manage it?
Okay, so the word balance, first things first, let's just get this with the 4-burner thing. I think for anyone who's got this show is for people who are going out there and want to achieve something, which by default means we are already going to be out of balance. Because when something excites you so much, by default, your natural energy will pull you more in in that direction. So I think first things first is to understand that balance isn't something that's static. Like if you actually think of a set of balancing scales, it's an act. One will go up, one will go down. And the key thing is to maintain and be aware of the things that keep that act in play. So I really do believe that the main thing when it comes down to this sort of stuff is understanding what is it you're going after, or what is it that's kind of taking that energy or taking that away from you, but also being really aware of what you need to do or invest into yourself to make sure that everything else kind of comes up and stays in that place where it can maintain things. Because I mean, at the end of the day, everyone thinks that money is the biggest asset that we have, and it really isn't. Like when you really think of things, it's confidence, time, energy, and happiness really are our most powerful assets. So you've got to be making sure you've got practices in place.
I really like how you demonstrate the fact that although we're looking for success in all areas, it really is a question of turning the intensity in different areas at different times, right? Like right now, I know for health and fitness, like I'm punching it right now. Versus
you're crushing it.
Man, I'm going.
You're gonna rig right now.
I'm going for it. You know, I'm going for the tie. It's funny. They launched a challenge at the place that I'm going right now. They said if somebody attends every single class by the end of the month for September, there'll be a prize, and the prize is like $50. Okay, it's a $50 prize. I don't care about the $50 prize, but now I'm like, challenge accepted. So now I'm getting the benefit of wanting to go every single day, right? But at the same time, it's like when I bring that baseline up, then maybe at some point, like I know in October, I know I'm going to switch more into like career and work mode as I'm transitioning out of Mindvalley. Right now, it's a lot of decluttering and simplifying. So the fitness keeps me grounded. But even as, we look at having a balanced lifestyle, it never really is. It's always like, all right, go heavy on health, then you go business, then you and isn't that what makes it fun?
It is what makes it fun, but you've got to. So I love the fact that you brought this into a quadrant, because all of the things that I speak about usually do fall into some form of quadrant. It's fun. The out of balance thing is fun, but you've got to be aware of what it does. So I always say to people, you've got ways of performance. So if you think again of a quadrant, you've got high performance, which is where everybody wants to be. You've got renewable energy. You've got survival, and then you've got burnout. So if you think we've got positive and negative, you know what I mean, on the axes. Yeah. So what you've got to do is you've got to really focus on your patterns, because if you're a person who wants to be performing at high performance all the time, but you're constantly jumping into survival, like trying to catch it. So for you, your health goes, then it's running back your emails, and you're constantly in this stressful state without actually taking renewable energy. That pattern always leads to burnout. And the thing is, with burnout, it's a lot harder to get started, to build the momentum to go again. Whereas if you're actively keeping that balance by going, do you know what? I'm putting a lot of things into business, relationship, and health at the minute, which means I'm constantly going. And the key thing that people don't realize is that you burn a lot of more calories, if not more than physical, from just using your brain. So if you're in the trenches working, you need that rest period. And it could just be something as simple as taking, do you know what I mean, an hour to meditate, 10 minutes, just to get that renewable source to go again.
I just realized, and according to this model, I feel like all the times that I've really made strides forward was the times that whenever I did do a hard hustle was actually to build systems that perpetuated the renewable energy, right? Like exactly. I could think, you use the email example, which before that was my issue, was like, emails, crush them, get the inbox zero, then it piles up, and then it repeat the pattern again, until I was like, hey, maybe I should invest in building like SOP, which I then hired a virtual assistant. And then, Christina, if you're listening, you're an angel. I love you. And at the same time, I started learning, like, how do I manage my task system into a way that's predictable, scalable? Now it is handled. It's never something that I need high performance to achieve. It's just handled. And so is this the proper way of using that high output, is to build the renewal? And is that something that only applies in business, or have you seen it be applied in other areas?
It applies in everything. If you really look at people who are crushing it or have achieved something, there is always systems. Like people, what do you want to call them? Routines, habits. Like what are those? I mean, do you know, for me, I know if I train in the morning, I have my coffee and I don't let myself open to the world, I journal, I do my little things for me, that still is some form of system which sets me up before I then go and open myself up to people in the world. In a business, you need systems for scalability, because you're delegating the weakness tasks so that you can focus on the strengths. In a relationship, do you know what I mean? Like, you do need some form of systems. Like, when are you going to see each other? Like, when are you actually going to spend time present and connect? And you can call it a system, you can call it a habit, you can call it a routine, or you can call it a priority, whatever it is. But you just have to be kind of on the ball with all of them. I would just say, like, I love the fact we use the same thing. I think you called it the 4 burner. We call it the 4 core areas. And I just love to say they're balls on a table. If you think you've got 4 balls on a table, every time that one pushes forwards, you need to bring the others up to match to push it further again. Because if the relationship is strong, it's going to allow you to move the business ball forward. You'll have more support. You'll be able to speak. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, I think I've heard something around those balls, like using the balls as theories, but it was saying like, if you're talking about your career, it's a rubber ball. If you let it go, it bounces back, but the health is the one that's made of glass. But then again, no, I think the glass is the one that the health is also one that, you can drop it. Then maybe it's a lead ball. It's just a little heavier to pick up when it's went down. The relationships, the family, those I think are the glass balls, are the ones that you should never neglect. There's always going to be a lot of stuff that comes up from paying attention to that. I'd be curious, just to throw it to the audience here. So again, we still have Shiv, Susie, thanks for tuning in. I'd be curious to know, what are the areas that you are currently focusing on more right now? We talk about health, relationships, family, business. What is the area you're focusing on? So giving a quick shout out to Anne, to Sakshka, to Vix. We got Coach Subin. We got Buster the Sharpie. What is your name? You've been here since the beginning. And you have the
that is an amazing tag.
right? But I can't tell what the name is. So if you're listening, we just want to know, what is the category of life that you find is the one you're working the most on? We got Luis here is working on health. I know me, it's almost like I don't choose the health, but the health is something I love building a habit around. So with that, what do you think about the different ball consistency theory here?
The ball consistency theory. I mean, I think every single one of them. This is the fun thing about our industry. Like what I say, my remedy might be someone else's poison, and I genuinely always love the answer. It depends. I think you've got to look at what your specific patterns. What are your patterns? Like what happens? So, for example, in the past, my issue is when something excites me so much. My weakness is I find it very easy to go blinker vision. Very, very easy to go blinker vision. And that one thing is all that matters. Yeah.
Okay.
So my peripheral vision, relationships, social circles, do you know what I mean? Suddenly become here because I'm so focused on one thing. So my old pattern before I started doing, I'll share with you a little awareness tool that I use every day. But that's what I used to do. And it got to a point where, do you know what I mean? Like relationships dropped, my health. I actually had a few health scares back in the day. That was about 7 years ago. I had a huge health scare. So I think the consistency aspect is at first, you've got to become aware. What is your individual pattern? So Jason, if you're stressed, does the gym still stay as a priority? Because usually the hardest thing that you want to go and do is the thing that keeps you on track, you know? Even though you might feel shit in the morning and you put so much into your business that your energy is just not there to go to the gym, but the actual return of you going to the gym is the actual energy to then go again at the day. It's working out what your thing is. Well,
I as you speak about like what gets you going even under stress. And I love how Vic's here actually talking about how they're focusing on mental health right now. Man, I've also had ups and downs, especially in the mental health space. And when you talk about times of stress or anxiety, the gym feels to me like the anchor. Like it feels like when I get to move, when I get to go lift or do something, it gives me a win. It gives me a win that I feel good about. But I'm not going to lie. Like I find that these, since Corona happened, it's just been a lot heavier energy. It's just been a whole lot more like negativity that bounces around. And so mental health, I think, is a huge issue. So I don't know if you've noticed that with your audiences or even with yourselves, like do you have other tools that you recommend for people to manage that? Because I feel like all of us are being thrown into circumstances, whether it's quarantine or just different, realities that we have to face with it. And all the news doesn't help.
This is such an awesome topic, Jason. Look, like humans are creatures of habit, like period. What happened is Corona forced us to change our routines and habits. We lost our biggest human need, certainty. And if you look at Tony Robbins' certainty, uncertainty, you've got connection, significance, then you've got your spiritual needs of growth, which are connection and growth, contribution and growth. Like we literally got shaken overnight back to our first essential human need, which is there's no certainty in the world. So for us right now, it's hugely important to regain that element of certainty. Like what can you control right now? Get rid of the media. The media is just giving you more uncertainty. Like if you look in your own life, what's important? Business.
That family, media though, it comes to get me. I feel like it's what I go for to get that certainty. And I know it's bad, but they get me.
but there is no factual evidence that what you are seeing there is certain information. Do you know what I mean? Then it changes overnight.
I know, like I fucking, sorry, I just swear, but still, I get so annoyed with myself. I open Google News and then I see this thing. It's about like, well, look what Donald Trump said today. And I'm like, don't click. And then I click and I'm like, damn it. And then I'll be 20 minutes in. Then I'm looking at what is the latest rover doing. Did you know that there's actually a satellite that's hovering around an asteroid and is about to go collect samples from an asteroid that's flying around our solar system and is going to come back to Earth with the sample of a fresh asteroid. Hey,
no one knows this stuff.
But that's the news we don't get to see all the time, which is fascinating. And the things that make the headlines are just so dumb and daily.
It doesn't sell. Positive stuff doesn't sell. It's fear. Fear is what triggers people to buy and to click. Unfortunately, it's the biggest manipulation tool is fear. But also the other manipulation tool is inspiration. So if someone's looking for a real big business venture to go into, creating some form of inspiring, positive media outlet would be a huge thing to move into the new world with, instead of this negative, fear-based, manipulatory medium.
It's what I'm seeing that is like, I wish this would be the only news I could filter out. Like if there was that channel that just would talk about what's happening in science, what's happening in engineering, that's fascinating. Like that's the kind of news I'm looking for. And it's not as
imagine the change in psychology with that though, because if you, let's just take, for example, you go on now, everyone's dying, even though, more people have died of flu than COVID, but people are dying, like that's being fed. It's then we've got riots. We've then got, think of everything that's on the media. No wonder people are we've got the highest rates of anxiety, stress, depressions, panic attacks, the work's going on right now. Why is that? Because the volume on these bullshit mediums of the news have just gone right up, and it's in everyone's face now.
Yep. Well, I love some of the recommendations that were already sent. I think it was Viv that suggested the fact that one of the best things they do is turning off the media. Like there's nothing, I've never had a day that I didn't turn on the media and went, oh my God, my day's incomplete. I didn't see the news today. It's never happened. But also the concepts of meditation as well as walking in nature. I know that's also probably two things that you're probably a big fan. I mean, you're out in Tuscany and Italy. Yeah. Are you going to wineries? Do you get a chance to go check out the beauty nature there?
€2 for a glass of wine is cheaper than Bali.
Well, yeah.
It's incredible. Literally, it's in the middle of nowhere, really. So there's nothing really around where we are, and that was the whole point. For me, I like being brutally honest. I went back to England, and something within you lets you know when you're not in the right environment, around the right people, doing the right thing. And for me, I've not had that for a long time. As soon as I probably managed about 4 days. Then I managed to get out of my quarantine, started going to like coffee shops, restaurants and stuff like that. And the atmosphere and the kind of like let's go into the spiritual terms, the energy that was coming away from it.
I'm still in Bali. We love this.
Yeah. But the kind of the complete feeling that I got and the energy, it was, do you know what I mean? And all the conversations that I was having, I'm very big on if you approach me with a negative conversation, my mission is to immediately flip it to positive. Like if you come to me and go like, oh, the weather's really bad outside, I'm going, yeah, it's great to be alive though, and just watch people melt. But that's what I found. So obviously we coming here, just getting away, just completely off the grid again. Do you know what I mean? And the beautiful thing for me in this conversation, what we're speaking about is like, there's some things you can't control, but there are others that you can control. And in periods like right now, where the world has shaken us up like a snow globe, it's your duty and mission to regain that control and certainty of the things that you can physically touch and you can add value to regain that control, because that's where you're going to get the right things from. You're going to get your fulfillment. You're going to get your happiness from, do you know what I mean? You're going to get connection. So I really implore people, like right now, even though we're in the middle of a global shitstorm, is just, what are your priorities in life right now? Like, what can you actively touch and add value to, and just focus on that.
I love when I had a chance to host a Mindvalley University. It was Dr. Shefali Sabari. She does
she's amazing.
Incredible. Amazing. And she called this as the best, if in the talk, she was like, if you would ask any spiritual guru in the world, what is the one thing you could wish upon humanity for us to grow and evolve? The guru was like, I don't want to say it because I know it'll never happen. They would be like, no, what do you think it would be? And they would say, I wish there was an event in the world that would make everybody actually slow down, stop, find themselves isolated to see what are the things that are important for themselves, and have a reflection of all their pains actually comes from internal. And guess what's happening? Like, that's the way to frame it, that, my God, now all the things that are useless, we can see them by face value so much that we're forced into a spiritual journey, aren't we?
Well, it depends. Exactly. I know some people get turned on and turned off by that language, but I think that there's a beautiful moment in life. You either actively go in search to look inwards and find the answers yourself, or something happens to force you. Mm-hmm. And I think right now we've been forced to really look in and go, these are the things that really excite me. We're forced to find happiness. We're forced to connect or disconnect from things that aren't serving us. We've been forced to look in and go, health is a priority. I'm in a system that doesn't care about me. I don't want to be doing this for the next 10 years. I actually have this passion and dream that I want to go and do this. So although we've been provided this huge shitstorm, again, let's just keep referring to it as that, I think it's going to provide a lot of adverse of this. I think people are going to really become a lot more health conscious and invest into their health, which means they're going to have more energy, more confidence, which means they'll then have more confidence to maybe leave the relationship or go and pursue the dream and the purpose and the business. So I think there's going to be a lot of good come from this very bad situation, both within the business playing fields and also just the personal development playing fields. But it will only come to those who are actively searching.
Here's an interesting question, which I have my own opinion. I know you do too, but it comes from Shivs asking, do you think a lot of people are having a kind of awakening? I thought it would, but I'm not too sure. What do you think?
Well, you choose. Life is choices. You choose what direction you take. You either choose to be woke or you choose to go back to sleep, period. I think a lot of people are being forced to choose, and the choice is kind of just being forced. But I still, look, I went back to England and there's still people who are, do you know what I mean? Everything has an opportunity within it. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is the strength lies in being able to see the gold in the shit.
Yeah.
And we're in the shit.
It sounds like we were living in a world with a lot of people sitting on fences, right? Like they weren't sure where to go. And then Corona and everything just came and said, like, guess what? Fence time's over. Make a choice and then deal with it. Deal with it.
Earthquake test.
My God. By the way, Simon, we haven't talked in a while, which is unfortunate because this is always a fun time. If you're just joining in, we're talking about all sorts of topics about what's going on now. Where does it lie? Where do we actually start prioritizing our life? What does balance look like? What does peak performance periods look like? And what should we be striving for when it comes to renewable energy? It kind of wants to, I want to throw one at you here, Simon, because, I have to say, I feel very blessed. I mean, I'm someone that, when it comes to my own finances, I have a pretty good grip on it. I think you do as well. Like you have opportunities that are accessible to you because you're at a certain level of abundance as well. Do you think that for someone that might be struggling right now, do you think that it is necessary to first go and get yourself fixated at a certain level of abundance so you can get yourself to have the space to even consider these topics? Because, man, if I have to pay the mortgage, this is tough.
Oh, Jason, I appreciate you for asking proper questions. I do some interviews and awesome questions. Look, people, the money mindset, this drives me nuts, is the first human need is certainty. And you need to establish that in order to be able to, you can't connect with loved ones if your finances are in the shit, because your head is like, holy shit, I need to provide food for the family, X, Y, Z. Like, you have to get financially certain before you do anything. And this is why I always say to people in like entrepreneurship is you can't reach your optimal level of creativity, flow, and like being able to see everything if your brain is in scarcity. You need to establish that at some way, shape or form. And money buys freedom. Money is a transaction of freedom. So 100%, a lot of people say that money doesn't buy you happiness, but I can tell you what, not having money will give you a lot more unhappiness. So 100% you're correct in what you're saying.
I think I recall it was like one of the biggest correlation to happiness was money, all the way to something like $75,000 a year. And then over that, it actually made no difference to your happiness. So like there's that certainty threshold, which is like I can have a good roof over my head. I can eat, healthily into the choices I want. And then it seems like you're not as much slave to a system of economy, whatever it is that we're part of. You get to have at least extra freedom of mind to be asking the tough questions. So even though like I really empathize with what Shivs is saying like, I wish more people respond to the universe's nudge. It's kind of hard to listen to a universal nudge if, I need to figure out what I'm going to feed my kids. And so I do want to make, like, I love concepts from, Neil Donald Walsh, who says, we have to have understanding before anything. That's the way to express love. And sometimes I find myself forgetting, and that's why I love asking these questions, because it's a reminder for me as well. Now, you've been on this journey.
I was just want to add to that as well. Neil Donald Walsh, the book, that was the first book I wrote that set me on my journey. But I was actually, so I'm over here at the minute with some friends. And we were on a walk yesterday, me and Johnny, and we were speaking about this. And we were on about, like, when you really think about the money and stuff, like, everyone thinks that the way I live is super expensive. I pay less to live how I live now, traveling the world, seeing things, my living costs, than I would if I was back at Manchester. Do you know what I mean? Because money works for you. You've got, you can utilize different currencies and stuff like that. So where I'd be paying say, for example, 2,000 a month, having to stay in a city to earn more for that higher living cost.
Yeah.
I should be spending half of that. Like my living cost was half of England when I was in Bali, and even over here now, like, you know what I mean? And the issue is when your certainty is latched onto the system, so you're having to be in your safe job to maintain your expensive lifestyle, it's a very big risk. But when you take the jump and suddenly your living costs go down, it's a very freeing feeling, because it's like, oh, I can go and live on a paradise island, connect with my friends, X, Y, Z, and I can build a system that works for me. It fulfills me. And actually all I have to earn is 800 a month to live. It's like, oh, this is actually a lot easier than what I thought.
If you're watching this and you love these ideas, make sure you hit the heart. I want to see some hearts pop up on the screen. We've been having so much fun and sharing insights back to back. And if you don't already follow Simon, make sure you click that button at the top left. I think it's way up. I think you're probably on top. I don't know who's the person that's on top with for everybody who's watching, but click the button here. Make sure you follow Simon, because his podcast is the Nourish Life. You want to make sure you follow that. Go listen to some episodes. Well, if you want to watch my episode, obviously I'm biased. I thought it was a great episode. I'm seeing the hearts
Your episode's flying still. Your download rates are still.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's super good. Yeah, we had so much fun doing that. And what I wanted to kind of open up as well is, like, you've had some significant steps that brought you into a style of entrepreneurship freedom that you get to live now. Would you be able to share maybe one, maybe two concepts that you think, like, you know, if most people would understand? We already talked about, you know, understanding that if you detach yourself from a system, there's optimal ways of designing your lifestyle. But as far as generating income, being an entrepreneur, there's some certain steps and successes that you've had that are tied to some key things and decisions you've made. What do you think those would be?
Dude, this is kind of a big one, really. So
it is.
For me, the biggest life lesson I've learned in anything is okay, here we go.
So, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, my dad brought me up with a saying. So a lot of people don't know this. I was nearly an Olympic gymnast. I did my whole life, kind of in sport up until the age of 14. And my dad's a very successful entrepreneur and businessman and investor. And he brought me up with the saying, Simon, never go into businesses, partnerships, relationships, affiliations, social circles, X, Y, Z with people who don't know who they are, what they want, or where they're going, or who they want to become. Because everything that person does will be a clutch of a straw, and it will have no longevity and no big action or commitment to it. And my issue is, as much as I love that saying and there's so much truth behind it, is I was that person. So in my story coming away from gymnastics, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I always say in speaking gigs, I genuinely believe it took my world to fall apart at the age of 23, 24 to push my face into the dirt, to make me go, you're the problem. You don't know who you are. You don't know who you want to be. And let's be honest, you're living a life for everyone else and not yourself. So I literally got the universal elbow to the jaw, pinned to the floor. And I just made a commitment from that period of really pulling myself out of a black hole. I just went in search of really kind of getting clear on those answers. And I'd say to people now, like, if you don't know the answer to those questions, don't think of starting a business now. Because I did that, and I did a very big business, and the worst feeling. But what people have to remember is that a business is a bus model to the lifestyle that you want to create. Really think about that. The business is the bus model to your lifestyle which you want to create. So be really, really clear. Like, you spend a third of your life asleep and unconscious, not doing anything. You spend a third of your life awake and effectively on your own terms. And you spend the final third of your life in business, in service, doing something. And the beautiful thing is, like this conversation, you have the choice to spend those 2/3 of your life excited, happy, fulfilled, doing the things you love, surrounded by the people and contributing to the things that really light you up. And the day that you realize that you have the power to go inside and step into that driving seat and take full control of your life and flip it, and then believe in yourself, is a day that you'll never look back on. And for me, that was the biggest tipping point, was that entire series of lessons was getting clear on who I am, who I actually can become, what I actually want to do and why am I here? Like, that was another thing. And having the balls to take the action to make that happen. And in a nutshell.
Thank you so much. I was going to prompt people to send some hearts, but the hearts are already coming. And thank you so much for sharing that, because it's so interesting. I just want to tell you that, you know, you went through that. You are not alone. For me, like, it was at 28 years old that I had that universal elbow, face, dirt, shit happen. If you're not listening to the call, it calls you out, you know? And at the same time, I have no, I think I'll speak, tell me if I'm wrong, but like those shitty moments and all those crash and burn things that have happened to me have been the catalyst to the recreation of the certainty that has come in rebuilding myself from scratch. And I don't regret it. Like, it was a part of the journey, and it's made me who I am today. And, you know, today you are an incredible person. I look up to you. You've done incredible things, and it's such an honor to call you a friend, and such an honor to have you come and share your thoughts with everybody here. So thank you so much, man. And for everybody listening, again, go and follow Nourish Life. Go listen to that podcast, subscribe, and come on, guys, leave a review. When you leave a review for the podcast, it means so much to us. So go on Apple, listen to an episode, leave a review, and even send Simon a DM. Just let him know what is it that touched you on this interview, and tell him obviously that you heard him from Jason, so that at least he'll come back to me and tell me, Jason, thank you. Honestly, Simon, it was so much fun talking with you. I just wanted to throw the torch at you, see if you had any closing words to give to the audience.
You're in control. It's just a matter of choice. Do you choose to act, or do you choose to sit? Period.
Brother,
I hate to say it, because it's simple advice, but it really is that.
Is perfect.
Yeah.
You're not a victim when you get to make the choice. So that is perfect. Simon, enjoy your time in Tuscany, Italy. Everybody, thank you for tuning in and watching. This was another incredible conversation. Go and give some love to Simon. We're going to be doing this again. Everybody, if you have any questions or topics you'd want me to cover, send me a direct message. Let me know what is somebody you'd want me to interview, or a topic you'd like me to cover. Obviously, I always bring incredible individuals like this man. I just saw Gareth has tuned in. So Gareth, I have a feeling you're going to be the next man from the UK coming on the show. He always tunes in.
Oh, we're taking over.
And one more thing, Simon, I realized there's an episode that released on my podcast that I want to give it a little shout out with Tara Nicole Nielsen, who actually wrote the book, The Conscious Consumer. And she talked about this generation, or what we're going through right now is called the Great Reset. Has research on all the good things that are happening because of COVID. I would love to make an introduction, because she's fucking awesome and it would be a great guest on your show too. So if you want that, send me a message after. I'll make the connect.
I totally appreciate that. That's just opened the door for a huge conversation.
I know, but we're going to close this one off. We're going to keep it covered. I know, let people off the hook. But go and watch the interview I did with Tara on my podcast as well. My link is in the bio too. Again, Simon, thanks for coming on the show. I'll talk to you later. Everybody, thanks for watching.
Thanks for that.